Hi, my name is Annabelle.
And I'm Evelyn.
Welcome to 24 Things We Learnt in 2024. If you're new here, welcome to my channel. Thank you so much for being here. I'm excited to have you and I can't wait to share my art journey with you all. This video is a collaboration with Evelyn from EvyDraws, who is an amazing artist here on YouTube. She does fantasy illustrations, folklore illustrations, and it's just basically everything I ever wanted to draw when I was young, so her work makes me feel very nostalgic. We're each going to be sharing 12 things that we learned in 2024 and bringing them all together to hopefully help some other artists out there. We will both be drawing and painting something that we love, but there is a twist. The theme is video games. We're both going to be bringing fantasy elements from these video games that we love into our art, which I think is going to be really, really fun. Lesson number 1. Your childhood is your muse. Whenever I'm thinking about things that really get me excited to make art, it's always things I used to love as a child. Things like the Legend of Zelda, the video game that inspired the painting in this video. Things like border collies, things like going into my cubby house and creating potions, and things like, getting my hands in the dirt in the garden, running around and dancing and singing. My favorite movies, my favorite Disney movies, my favorite colors, my favorite clothes, dressing up, all these things that really stoke my creative fire are all things that I loved as a child. And I think I've really been enjoying starting to tap into that and embrace my inner child and actually letting myself kind of let loose and have fun and muck around and be a bit stupid, because that makes me feel free and that makes me feel creative. Lesson number 2, mistakes are your biggest teachers. It's always my crappiest paintings, it's always the paintings that I screw up on, it's always the paintings that I hate that I actually learn the most from. There was this painting I did earlier this year that I hated, but the one thing that I mucked up on and actually really liked in that painting was trees, and I uncovered my favourite technique for painting trees. Learning from your mistakes will inform new skills, it will inform your interactions with clients, it will inform your next video if you're making YouTube videos. Making mistakes will always teach you your best lessons. If you've made a mistake, look for the lesson. If you've made a mistake, look for the teacher in that moment, because you will learn and you'll grow from that mistake. Lesson number 3, no art piece is a waste of time. This feeds into my previous lesson about mistakes being your teachers. You've got to let loose, you've got to muck around, you've got to just throw paint at the canvas, scribble in your journal. No piece of art is a waste of time, because you will learn from it. You might pick up a new technique, or you might just get rid of some of that tension that was stopping you from painting before. If you create a painting and you hate it, it's not a waste of time. There are mistakes and there are things in there that will teach you, and who cares? It's just one painting, one drawing in the hundreds of thousands of artworks that you will make throughout your life. One bad piece of art is not a failure. You learn from it, you move on. Lesson number 4, your teachers might surprise you. I have a chronic illness. This chronic illness can sometimes mean that I'm bedridden for months, that I can't work, that I can't do anything that I want to do. But you know what this chronic illness has actually taught me? It's taught me to slow down, it's taught me to listen to my body, and in turn that's informed my art. I'm more mindful about my art. I'm taking the time, I'm putting in the effort to ensure that my art pieces are quote unquote successful pieces, pieces that I like, because I'm conscious that I might not be able to paint forever. I might get too sick to paint, and that could happen tomorrow, or it could happen in a decade. It might never happen. But this chronic illness has taught me so many things about myself, about getting in touch with myself, about slowing down and creating better art. It's also taught me to really appreciate the time I can make art. That's just one example of something that I never thought would have actually taught me a lesson. I thought it was nothing but bad luck. But again, a little bit like looking for the lessons in your mistakes. Find the teachers in the areas of your life that don't feel related to art at all, because they will inform you and help you grow and teach you things that you mightn't ever have learnt otherwise. Lesson number 5, let life unfold. I have had to try my best to let go of the need to control everything. And I know that this is something that is super common in people with anxiety, and this need for everything to turn out a certain way, this need to be on a certain timeline as an artist, a certain, 5, 10, 2-year plan that you need to achieve, puts blinders on you. You don't see what's going on around you. You don't see the lessons you can learn from other circumstances. You don't see the other artwork, the other artists that you can connect with. You let go of your pride and your ego just enough to let life happen and let life carry you, and let your art career just unfold as it's meant to unfold, as it unfolds naturally. It doesn't mean you can't make plans and try to grow and try to aim for certain things, but your life doesn't have to follow this predetermined pathway, especially as an artist. We can take whatever pathway life gives us and still make something beautiful out of it. Lesson number 6, don't let your limitations stop you. Limitations can be so many things. They can be financial, they can be health, they can be age, they can be so many different things. I've learned to work within the limitation and the bounds that this chronic illness puts on me in terms of how much work I can make, how creative I can be, how much I can work part-time, whether or not I actually can be a full-time artist, whether or not that's the right thing for me. I need financial stability to pay for medical bills. I have had to change my ideas of some things, like my ideas of success and like my ideas of where I want to be as an artist now, as opposed to in 5 years' times where I should be. You can't see the air quotes I'm using around the word should there. I've learnt to work within my space that I have, and you can too. If you can't afford the art supplies that you need, collect rocks, collect leaves, glue them together, find another way to be creative. Work with what you have at the moment. Don't wait for that thing to happen that means you can pursue your art or create something in particular. Maybe you have a chronic illness as well and you have very limited energy. I have days where I can barely lift my arms to make a drawing, but the days that I feel that way, I might have a look on Pinterest and get some inspiration. There are always ways that you can feed your creativity, that you can work on your art, and it can be that thing that makes everything easier to work through as well. It can be that lifeline that you need. Lesson number 7, lean into what you already know. As an artist, there is always something that you already know, whether it's as simple as you know how to hold and use a pencil, or you have been painting for a long time and you really understand colour theory. Those things that you know now are your foundation. You can lean into that, you can rely on those, you can always come back to those things when you're feeling lost. Trust what you know. Don't doubt yourself with those skills that you've already learnt, and use them as the foundation to build your skills on. For me, for instance, I know how to mix atmospheric colours, and the days that I'm stressing and worrying about not being able to get the colour mixes, those are the days that I don't make the paintings that I like. Whereas if I realize that I can trust myself, I can trust my intuition and what I know, what I've learnt, those pieces that I create when I'm leaning on what I know, those are the days that I create the best artworks, because I'm trusting the skill set that I have worked to create. I think this one's really just about taking the pressure off to perfect things and trust what you know. And that can also be a place of rest when you're feeling stressed and you just want to create a piece for no other reason other than to create. Lesson number 8. Ditch expectations. Your expectations of where you should be right now as an artist, your expectations of what this piece should look like, your expectations of how your day is going to go, your expectations of what the people around you are going to say or how they're going to be. Ditch those expectations and let life be. Let the painting unfold as you create it. Lean on the skill that you have. This is where you create your most beautiful art, when you let it flow. When you let go of that need to control, when you let go of that expectation for it to look a certain way. This is where you find your art style. This is where you find your best pieces, is when you stop expecting your things to go a certain way. And in a kind of more, I guess, pessimistic standpoint here as well, if you don't have expectations, you can't be disappointed. I know that sounds really negative. I don't mean it in a way to expect the worst or anything like that. It's almost like that Buddhist principle of finding the middle way. You're not expecting great, you're not expecting horrible, you're just existing and you're just doing and letting things unfold and following the path that unfolds ahead of you and the artwork that you're creating. Lesson number 9, practice runs rule. I have spent my entire art career almost just diving straight into a painting, thinking that preliminary sketches, preliminary paintings are a waste of my time because I just want to get straight into the piece. And then I spend the entire time with that painting getting frustrated that I'm not executing it the way that I want to, that I can't portray the light the way I want to, something's wrong with the composition, because I haven't spent the time beforehand nutting out all of the problems in smaller thumbnail sketches or smaller paintings. This is something that Andrew Tischler always talks about on his channel. Figure out your mistakes, iron out those kinks in smaller paintings, in sketches, before you dive into this bigger piece, because it means that when you get there, you can just let your creativity flow, lean on the things that you have learnt in those sketches, and create the piece that you need to create, because you've already figured out all of the nitty-gritty little things that weren't working in those other pieces. Lesson number 10. Steer away from photo reference. Now, I don't mean completely ditch photo reference, because photo reference is very informative. It's a great guide when you're trying to create, especially portraiture and things like that. But I mean, just remember not to be confined by that photo. You don't have to recreate a photo. That photo already exists. It can be great to use it to figure out the structure of the face or the way the light falls on the landscape. But one tip that I really like is I will have a black and white photo, and then that way I just let loose on the color, and quite often I'll create a more beautiful painting, because color gets all the credit, but value does all the work. By using a black and white photo as opposed to a color photo and then creating a colored piece, you'll work out your values, but then knock it out of the park with some really fun color. I also mean that you often don't find the perfect composition in nature. Shapes can be too repetitive, trees can be on an awkward angle, the clouds could be distracting. You can change the photo to create a better painting. And that's what I mean when I say steer away from photo reference. Try not to feel like you have to replicate that photo. Lesson number 11. Not every piece needs to be a masterpiece. This, again, kind of feeds into the mistakes of your teachers. Let life unfold, let go of expectations. It can be really easy to think that every piece you create has to be a great piece, has to be the best piece you've ever made, has to be perfect, has to be a masterpiece, has to be the piece that helps you make it as an artist. Not every piece has to be a masterpiece. You can screw up multiple pieces, and like I said before, that one crappy painting, that one crappy drawing is one of hundreds of thousands of pieces that you are going to create in your lifetime. That failed piece, that crappy painting, the one that was supposed to be a masterpiece but you just screwed up, it doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. You'll paint a better one. You'll draw a better one. It could be the next one. It could be 10 paintings or drawings from now. But it will happen. And not every piece has to be your best piece ever. Lesson number 12, let go of predetermined timelines. Your pace is different to mine, and my pace is different to every other artist's. I personally have had to slow things down for me. I was hoping by the time I was 30, I'd be a full-time artist, I'd be earning an income. At this stage, I'm 29 and I'm not even close to that. And that's because of the curveballs that life has thrown me. But because I don't have that expectation of being a full-time artist or a successful artist by a certain amount of time, it's not stressing me that I'm not going to hit that goal by the time I'm 30. I know that my pace is different to yours. It's different to the 21-year-old artist who's got 1 million subscribers on YouTube or Instagram or all of those things. My pace is my own, my timeline, my story is my own, and ultimately I'm just here to make art and enjoy life. And if I get to make money from that, awesome. I'd like to say by the time I'm 80, I've got some sort of, legacy behind me of my art career, but I don't have this predetermined timeline of where I want to be by a certain time. My thoughts are more like, I wonder where I'll be at that time, as opposed to I need to be at this point at this time in my career. I think most of my lessons are all about letting go of the need to control, letting go of the pressure to be a certain way, and just trusting yourself, trusting your intuition, trusting the path before you, and taking life moment by moment. A lot of these are lessons that I'm still learning, I'm still trying to master, but they're all things that I have seen and noticed over the last few years, but this last 12 months in particular, while I've really been dealing with this chronic illness and dealing with these limitations and dealing with these curveballs and forks in the road and pressures and external stresses. In the past, my art has suffered from this kind of thing. It's meant I've stopped altogether. Whereas this year, I've let those lessons inform my art and I've not stopped. I've kept going and I've gotten better. If you've made it to the end of the video, again, thank you so much for being here. I'm so glad that you've joined me for this little video. Please make sure you head over to Evie's channel to check out the 12 things that she learnt through 2024, and I personally cannot wait to see her video, and hopefully some of these lessons may have resonated with you. If you have something else that you've learnt, please comment down below. I'd love to know what you've learnt this year. I think we can all learn from each other. I really want to build a community here on YouTube where we can all learn from each other and share and be vulnerable as well. And Evie, thank you so much for spending the time with me to make this video. It's been such a pleasure getting to know you, and I can't wait to maybe do some more collabs with you in the future. So if you like this video, please drop a comment, like and subscribe. I would like to maybe hit 2,000 subscribers by the end of January. That'd be really exciting. I'd love to see that growth, but we'll see how we go. So thank you for being here, and I will talk to you in the next video. Bye.